Hello everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV Online. So, I did all the side quests in this area, except for the one for the dance, because, again, these are ridiculous and I love showing them off. But we're going to go ahead and start with the story, per part of the Ul'Dan Envoy, and we're going to go ahead and talk to the Silent Conjurer. If you remember, we are in Gridania. You are the Ul'Dan Envoy. Begging your pardons, madam, but might I inspect the missive you bear? Yep, here you go. Verily, this is the seal of the Supreme Commander of the Immortal Flames. Please come with me. This area is really pretty.
So you are the Ul'Dan Envoy.
I am.
On behalf of our fair nation, I bid you welcome. Please. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Khan-E Senna, Elder Seedseer of Gridania, and leader of the Order of the Twin Adder, our nation's grand company. I understand you bear a message from the Flame General.
They wanted to do a memorial, if I remember correctly. A remembrance service for the fallen of Cartano. Pray tell me, adventurer, what do you know of our conflict with the Empire? I mean, I know quite a lot. It would seem my counterparts recounted the tale in some detail, that as well. A message from the Admiral? A wolf has been sniffing around her stables, you say? I see. Well, I shall be pleased to provide her with such counsel as I am able. But first, friend of my friend, I would tell you more of the Garlean threat. Yeah, because we did just get a massive cutscene with him, so... For the greater part of its history, Garlemald was not even among the most influential nations in Ilsabard, the northern continent. However, its innovations in the field of magitech, some 50 years past, helped to raise it from the depths of obscurity. Emboldened by this technology, it set about subjugating its neighbors, swiftly absorbing each into its ever-expanding territory, and when all of Ilsabard lay within its grasp, it turned its ravenous gaze upon Eorzea. Yet Garlemald's transformation did not come about by virtue of magitech alone. Its success owed much to the consummate leadership of its first and reigning emperor, Solus Zos Galvus, the man who built an empire in his own lifetime. Yet he has lived long, and after more than 80 winters it is said that he grows frail, and ever more prone to illness. If rumors are to be believed, the matter of succession has destabilized the imperial court. This would explain the empire's relative inactivity in recent years, which has granted us much-needed time to rebuild. Yet we cannot allow ourselves to become complacent, for Garlemald still maintains a presence in Eorzea, in the forms of the 14th Imperial Legion. Commanding this great host is Legatus Gaius von Baelsar, a man whose ambitions are well known to us. So long as he breathes Eorzean air, none of us may sleep easy. The calamity wreaked such devastation upon the realm that it has been all we could do to nurse our wounds, never mind rebuild our defenses. Simply put, we have not the strength to repel the Empire. To add to our woes, the beast tribes continue to summon their primals, whose very existence is a bane upon the land. Each nation is beset with its own primal problem. None has the resources to look beyond its own borders. The Admiral desires my counsel regarding a brazen wolf. She means to tell me that the Empire may soon resume its advance. Though the primals pose an undeniable threat to our survival, the threat posed by the Garleans is greater still. Clearly, each nation can no longer afford to think only of that which occurs within its own borders. Well, that's what Rabban was saying before. A storm gathers upon the horizon. If we are to weather it, we must needs stand united once more. A remembrance service may help rekindle the spirit of unity which brought the peoples of Eorzea together when last the Empire threatened our liberty. The Flame General was wise to make his proposal, and I wholeheartedly approve of it. The necessary provision shall be made for service here in Gridania. I do wish there was more, like, voice acting. Like, I understand, like, budget and stuff, but so much reading. Plus, when they're just, like, scribbling notes and handing them over, and it's, like, so slow, it's just like, come on, I get it. Like, realism, sure, but, oof. The pacing, dude. Your work here is done, my friend. I shall send my reply to the Flame General forthwith. I thank you for coming. May the 12 see you safely home. Yay, I got my airship. Okay. Wink, wink, wink. Airships are now accessible. Yay. Alright. I pray your meeting with the Elder Seedseer went well, my lady envoy. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but did you not also deliver a message to Admiral Merlwib Blufsvin of Limsa Lumensa? While you were there, did you happen to meet Baderon, the proprietor of the Drowning Wench? Gregarious gentleman, always happy to help his fellow man. Well, I'm told that he has a task for a capable adventurer. I know not what the task entails, but I dare say the Flame General's personal envoy would make a fine candidate. If you're interested in learning more, pray speak with Baderon at his establishment. That's fine, but why do you guys always have to use such big words, like gregarious? Why can't you just talk like normal people? Or like, you know, like the people that have trouble reading who are probably playing this game like myself. Help me. Help me out with my low reading level. I actually don't have a low reading level, but you know, I do get tongue-tied a lot, and it's very frustrating. I read with my eyes faster than my mouth can pronounce the words. Oh, hi, lady. A day of merrymaking, is that all you adventurers think about? I'm here to teach, my dear lady. For me, these younglings are to learn a most sacred, meaningful, and uniquely uplifting dance. Now, I realize full well that the tradition may not hold much allure for the young, but I didn't think they would just up and run away. This manner of disobedience is unprecedented. It's all the more surprising considering they obey the Timbermaster without demur. What I wouldn't give to know his secrets, but I must wait here for my unruly charges. I wonder, though, might you ask the man how he tamed them? I mean, I guess. Whoa, that angle, though. Yikes. So, I'm not, like, gonna bother you too much with the details of this dance thing. I'm just gonna skip through the dialogue for this dude. We're picking up toys from the guildmaster. He basically says, like, hey, they're kids. They like toys. Like, they're not hard to tame. She's just really strict, so give them these toys, tell them I sent you, and they'll behave. Maybe. And that's essentially all it is. And so you have to go from New Gridania into Old Gridania. You give the kids the toys, and then the lady will teach you a dance. So, I'm not saying the stories are, like, profound by any means, because really they're not, but, you know, it is what it is. But they are really funny. Like, there's funny parts of them, I should say. But no, this is, and plus it gives me a chance to walk around Gridania and kind of just show you guys, like, what it's like. So, the reason I like Gridania so much is because it's level ground. So, Limsa Lumensa and Ul'dah, as you've seen as we've traveled through it, they are, like, multi-leveled. Like, you have to go upstairs and downstairs, and there's all these different sections, and it is so hard. So hard to navigate, at least for me, because I'm directionally challenged. So, Gridania for me is nice because everything's just very level. It's all one, like, floor. You know, there's no going upstairs or downstairs. It's just really spread out, and I think that's, like, the biggest issue for most people, is that it's just so spread out. But Gridania does have a lot to offer. Like I said, it has the Botanists Guild. Botany, I think, is probably my favorite gathering class. I don't know why it's so enjoyable. It's almost like, it's not even methodic. It's just really fun because sometimes you'll get like mystery items. I think one time from Botany, I got the seeds to grow a Mandragora. No, it was an onion nut. No, it wasn't an onion nut. Crap. It was a Mandragora, but it was oh, I forget which one it was. I think it was like either the eggplant or an onion, and I forget which one. But and I had to like nurse this like plant, like I had to water it and stuff like literally every day. Within like 12 hours just to make sure it didn't die, and I got a minion out of it, but I got the seeds from Botany. And then of course you have the Lancers Guild, which is near and dear to my heart because I started as a Lancer on my main, and I still play Dragoon to this day. The Archers Guild, which leads into Bard, which Bard's actually a pretty fun class. And then you, of course, have the Conjurers Guild, which is for white mages. I did level that to level 50. It's not a bad class. It is just, I don't know. Healing is nerve-wracking for me, much like tanking. Well, I don't know what sorcery you worked, but all the younglings are back, and I do believe we've reached an accommodation. 'Twould seem that I was stricter than I imagined, and loosening up a bit has made a great difference. This dance is for the Feast of the Harvest, to give thanks to Nafaka and the elementals. There must be no aggression in this dance, lest the matron be angered. It is very, very important. I do realize I haven't made the best first impression, having you fetch my students for me. To make it up to you, will you let me show you the dance? Think of it as a kind of peace offering. I think the dance itself is very silly. I don't know what the inspiration for the dance is. I know, like, every dance in this has some sort of inspiration. But yeah, I don't know. And then everybody's like, you try the dance. And it's like, alright, let me give it a go. If this were me in real life, ain't no way I'd learn a dance like this first try. Ain't no way. It kind of looks silly coming from a giant Hrothgar. And then she's like, I did it! And then you have the Timber Master in the back there like, well, what do we got here? It's like, why, you were a born dancer, dear lady. And so say we, and so say we. This guy. The Timber Master. Comes a sailor from the sea to show the ladies how it's done, and so say we, and so say we. I don't know how it actually goes. Swinging his axe and says, remember, shiver, shiver me timbers. And so say we, and so say we. Oh, gods, no, Master Beaton, what have you done? You've brought a weapon to the sacred dance. The matron forgive us, we are surely doomed. And then she, like, runs away. Master Beaton, you scared her off. We were having fun. Timber Master Beaton, what? Wasn't that a sailor song? How do you know it? Never mind how I know. More to the point. What could have troubled Mistress Edith so? You did! She said you're supposed to be peaceful or the elementals will be upset. And you know how uptight she gets. The course of relationships never does run smooth, child. You will all discover this in time. So he saw her dancing, and essentially he was like, oh, I'm gonna woo her with a sailor song. And he showed up with his weapon and scared her off instead. So again, really stupid stuff. I don't know. I think it's silly, but like charming. Charming silly. Plus we get good emotes from it, I guess. Oh, okay, I wouldn't say good emotes. We get emotes, though. But yeah, I was gonna record yesterday, and then I ended up doing some more Fate farming. For those that showed up for those streams, thank you guys so much, you know, for chilling. I know that they were maybe not the most entertaining thing on the planet, but we were just having fun, honestly, me and Marissa, so. Alright, fly me to Limsa, please. Well, I was talking to the wrong person. Maybe I'm just a wee bit tired. So this scene will not play every single time. I do have it set to skip playbacks, so it's only showing because I've never flown from Gridania to Limsa. Likewise, if I were to fly from like Ul'dah to Gridania, it would play, or if I were to fly from probably Limsa to Ul'dah, it would play. But that's about it. But then once I do that, once they play, then they'll never play again. And I'm always free to skip cutscenes, and why is there a dead person on the floor? Are they part of the same guild that I'm in? View company profile. Oh no, it's a different one. Lunar. Interesting. So, I'm actually part of a guild called Lunar, or part of an FC called Lunar, and that's why I was really curious. I was like, hold on, I don't remember them, because I'm one of the leaders of Lunar, and I'm like, I don't remember this person. And why are they dead in the Drowning Wench? Welcome to the Drowning Wench. Sit wherever you like, lass. I'll be with you in a... Yeah, I'm Bateron, alright, who's asking? Ah... You've heard I've got a job for a capable adventurer, you say. Well, you're bloody right. Just so you're fairly warned, though, this ain't no job for the faint of heart. Things are liable to get downright bleeding hairy, but if you think you're still interested, let me know, and I'll fill you in on the details. Well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't want the details, dude. Oh, leveled up again. Nice. Oh, this is... Yeah, I know what this is. Okay. I thank you for taking the time to help me out. Now I'm sure you're busy, so I'll get straight to the point. Word has it that some suspicious-looking buggers have been sneaking in and out of the Sestasha Seagrot, and I need a trustworthy sort to head up to Aleport to find out who they are and what they're up to. Don't sound like much, I know. But it weren't so long ago as the Fishback's pet pirates paid us an unwelcome visit, and folks are feeling a bit nervous. If you would permit me, Master Bateron, I should be happy to elaborate. Oh, wait, who's this? Oh. Well, if it ain't the Chief Yellow Jacket himself. To what do we owe this rare honor, Commodore Raynor? Come to make sure me patrons are behaving, or just thirsty? He just nods. Wolf. No, neither in fact. I was informed that you had requested an adventurer to assist in my investigation, and I came to offer what information I could sift from recent reports. Over the course of the past moon, there have been several sightings of an unfamiliar vessel off the coast of Aleport, in the vicinity of the Isles of Umbra. This information came to my attention no more than a few weeks after a squad of my own soldiers had completed a routine patrol of the region, the Sestasha Seagrot included. Their search revealed little save that a family of Coeurls had taken up residence in the caves, nothing to concern us, in short. In light of recent developments, however, it would seem wise to search Sestasha again. But with the Sahagin testing our defenses daily, I am loath to assign the task to limited forces at my disposal. Our line is stretched as it is. Thus I sought the services of a competent adventurer to conduct an investigation in our stead. Any aid you can offer in this matter would be greatly appreciated. I mean, I'm gonna do it. Then it's settled. Sestasha is located in western Lenosha. For more detailed instructions on how to reach the place, I suggest you consult Vimelpa. She can be found at the ferry docks on the lower decks. You're the man, good luck to ya. Okay, so when they say fishbacks, they mean the Sahagin. So the Sahagin are essentially, oh, this is gonna unlock our challenge log. The Sahagin are literally fish people. I mean, that's the only way to put it. So, the Sahagin are fish people. They they've always been at war with Limsa because of the humans expanding territory. It's kind of the same for all Beastmen, which by the time you reach Dawn Trail, they're no longer called Beastmen or tribals. They are now societies. But anyways, they were called the Beast Tribes at one point, but now they're not called that. Anyways, so, but you'll hear them be called the Beastmen, but there was like this whole thing of like calling them tribals and Beast Tribes is harmful, and I don't know, that caused a stir. Now they're called societies, and it sounds weird to me, but whatever. We got a couple quests there in the Drowned Wench, now that I can, like, kind of talk, but not really. So one of them, it will unlock our challenge log. Challenge log is kind of like things you can do weekly, and they can earn you a bunch of different things. You can earn, like, gil. You can get gil, you can get experience, you can, get certain things, certain different types of currencies, once you unlock the challenge log. It really just depends on what you're going for, but it gives you extra stuff to do so that you can get extra resources. This, however, this is to unlock the Aesthetician, and the Aesthetician allows us to change our hair and our makeup. So, essentially, everybody's like, oh man, there's this weirdo here, and you talk to this lady, and she's like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me, he's the slasher, because I guess there's been a murderer going on, and she's like, look, he's got scissors and everything. So then you literally doubt him, and you're like, you there, you're creepy and weird looking, you must be a slasher. And then he's like, no, he's like, there's nothing going on, I'm an artist. And he's like, but I lost all my tools. Like, go find them. So you literally have to go to 3 different places. One's in Gridania, one's in Limsa, one's in Ul'dah. And once you get his tools, he's like, aha, look at me, I'm actually a very fancy cosmetologist. And then he gives the lady a makeover, and then she's like, oh my gosh, I need to schedule my appointment next week because you're, like, so amazing. And then he's like, thank you for giving me my tools back. Now I've got my mojo in full swing. And here's a ticket so you can change your hairstyle for free because I'll make you beautiful. And if you think I'm kidding, do the quest yourself because I'm not exaggerating. At all. But we are going to go down to the lower decks, so we're going to go to the Fisherman's Guild. And this is where we are going to unlock the challenge log, and then we will talk to Vamelpa, who will then take us to Aleport. And Aleport is one of, like, the longest, like, sections, really, to me. I don't know. It's because there's a lot to do in Aleport, so give me the 10 piece. I need the money. I don't need your potions. Challenge log obtained. Thank you. So we talked to Vamelpa, and it's like, you're here about Commodore Rayner's investigation, then you'll want to board the ferry bound for Aleport. Once you arrive in western Lenosha, though, you'd best pay a visit to the Hall of the Novice before you blunder into Sestasha. The Adventurers Guild runs the hall, and the folks there will prepare you, train you with the skills that you need to face dangers undoubtedly waiting for you at the Sea Grot. The hall is on the way to Sestasha, just north of Aleport. Head inside, and one of the seasoned adventurers will take you in hand. Best of luck to you. So, and then we talked to this guy over here, and then we sailed to Aleport, blah, 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 for 40 gil. So, Aleport is this place, and there's a lot of different quests we have here. So, I'm going to break it down for you. It's a lot of fetch quests. Crazy, I know. But not only is it a bunch of fetch quests, but you also have, one of your first leave meets, or levy meets, or whatever you want to call them, which teaches you how to do that. I know that we have already done a levy before, but this one is one of the special kinds, I say, mostly sarcastically. It requires you to use an emote. It requires you to use the beckon emote, and these are some of the most annoying ones. They are escort missions. So essentially, you get someone that you have to protect, and you are to beckon to them to have them follow you when it is safe to do so. But if you're too far away from them, you cannot beckon them. If they are too close to you, you cannot beckon them. If they take damage to the point where their HP goes to 0, then you mess everything up, and you have to redo it. So, if you've ever played an RPG where you're like, oh man, I hate having this NPC follow me because they're weak and they're pathetic and they can't do anything, and it's just boring, then these types of levies are going to be your worst nightmare. Also, the quest that I'm doing right now, the guy essentially said that there are pirates in the area, and they are trying to bring in illegal substances. And so he wants us to handle it. So we went and we talked to this Archontai. We talked to this Mikote here, who then led us to this area, the shady looking place by the boat, where we were then ambushed by a pirate who we swiftly kicked in the booty. And now we're basically going to go talk to the dude again and say, yeah, there are pirates here, and they are really shifty, and I just got ambushed. And then he's gonna be like, oh my gosh, thank you for your help. Now here's 2 more quests. And he does. He gives us Man Best Friend and Curiosity Killed the Coeurl. So each one of these, like, little quests here give you a little minion. And it's actually really cute. You get a little wolf pup minion, and you get a little Coeurl kitten minion. And outside of the airship, these are your first minions in the game. So, like I said, they're optional quests, but they're really adorable. And the rest of them are just go here, kill thing. So, now one thing I want to explain is the Hall of the Novice. The Hall of the Novice, which was mentioned before there in Limsa, it is the tutorial, like the tutorial to dungeons, alright? Unlike some MMOs that make dungeons a sort of optional stuff, like optional thing, so like in Guild Wars 2, right? Dungeons are essentially optional. Same in World of Warcraft. You need the gear from dungeons, but ultimately, like, they don't force you to go into dungeons in order to progress any sort of story. So you could technically just buy the gear or something from dungeons, and not ever really have to step foot in one if you don't want to. Final Fantasy XIV is different in that dungeons are not optional. You have to do them, alright? And that does mean playing with other people. Now, before you get freaked out and you're like, oh, I don't want to play with anybody, so, you know, this is already a no-go for me, you do reach a point where you don't have to play with real players anymore. You get what's called trusts. And trusts are where you can go in and you can play with NPCs instead. And it's really helpful when you play with trusts, because they know the boss mechanics. And so, you know, they'll move to where they're supposed to move. They essentially take care of themselves. The only problem is that they're not going to have optimized damage like real players. They're also not going to do massive pulls like real players. There's a few differences as well in how they play, and it makes things go a lot slower when you play with NPCs versus when you play with real players. Now, playing with trusts also has another added benefit in that you get special dialogue. So as you're playing, you'll get commentary, you'll get little chat bubbles from the NPCs that are essentially like, oh my gosh, look at this over here. And playing with NPCs, like playing with the trusts, gives you another benefit, because some dungeons later on in the game have like notes and things that you can pick up that give you a little bit of a backstory of the area that you're in. And that could be amazing. However, if you are playing in a group, chances are they are veterans. And, because, I mean, we do have new players coming in all the time, of course, but chances are, they are veterans playing, and they're gonna do wall-to-wall pulls. They're gonna want to get out of, like, you know, the dungeon as soon as possible. And that essentially means that, you're kind of just screwed as far as reading stuff. Occasionally, you can ask them and be like, hey, I'm new, like, can I stop and read the notes? I would probably ask that at the beginning of the dungeon so that they know that they're going to be stopping. And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, like, totally. Another thing that you might want to be careful of is that sometimes there will be people that will not wait for you to view cutscenes, and they will jump into a boss battle. These people are assholes, alright? I would probably say when it's your first time in a dungeon. So like if I were to go into Sastasha, like right now, I've been in Sastasha before, I've already seen the cutscenes, I don't technically need to watch the cutscenes. I'll be showing you the cutscenes because you guys, you know, are watching me do the long play of this, but ultimately, the cutscenes are not a big deal for me. I've seen them like 1,000 times. However, if you are playing this game for the first time for yourself, I highly suggest watching the cutscenes. You know, just really just taking everything in. So, when starting a dungeon, it doesn't hurt to get into party chat and say, it's my first time in here. The reason why you want to do that is because people will then understand a couple of things. One, they're going to understand that you've never been in here and therefore you don't know the layout very well. Two, it also means that you really won't know the boss mechanics very well. So if you're failing at the boss mechanics, you know, it could be because you've literally never been in here before, and they really can't blame you too much for that. Another reason why you want to do that is so that they let you watch the cutscenes. Because if you say, hey, first time in this dungeon, then they'll understand. They'll be like, oh, well then you've never seen the cutscene. Alright, come here, Mimaroon. So I'm just doing this escort mission with Mimaroon. One thing that you want to note is that Mimaroon has a silver card above his head. Every other silver card above their head is an enemy of some kind. So I'm only taking a couple of steps, and I am having this guy, like, come towards me. Now, I'm gonna stop escorting him for a moment. I'm gonna take out this bad guy, who would start attacking Mimaroon if Mimaroon got too close. Now that he's dead, I click on Mimaroon. You have to make sure you click on him, and I'm going to beckon him again. Now you can type in \beckon if you want. I wouldn't. I mean, I do sometimes when I'm lazy and I don't want beckon on my bar, but I think every time I've made a new alt of some kind, I've freaking done that, where I've just been like, okay. Now, sometimes enemies will randomly appear because essentially the game's like, oh, you've made too much progress and your mission's too smooth. At this point, you want to stop escorting, you want to take care of this problem. And then once more, click on Mimaroon, beckon him to you, and just keep going. The thing I like about these is that they do tell you, like, how far you have left to go, or how much... Yeah, see, Mimaroon will not respond while moving. Yeah. So it's like, you've covered 84% of the distance. I don't think whenever I first started playing that they said that. I don't think they counted the distance. I think you just kind of kept moving until you reached the circle. But I could be wrong, I just don't remember. But I remember at some point being like, oh my gosh, it's telling me how much distance I covered. That's so neat. Oops. Click the wrong button. And then once you get Mimaroon in the circle, he'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm saved, thank you. And then he'll say, do you want to go back to the trial guide? Or the quest giver? And he'll be like, heck yeah, give me that free teleport. So I got all my experience for that. I'm gonna turn in all these random quests I have. This guy wants bat wings, and then I think he ends up wanting, like, the mole thingies, but I forget. I know there's like one more thing he wants me to hunt, and I forget what it is. Now I could go into Sastasha, and I probably will go into Sastasha, but I don't know how long the queue time's gonna be. So whenever you do, like, start heading into a dungeon, you are going to use the duty finder for it. Don't make this mistake of just entering a dungeon, okay? The entrance to a dungeon, yeah. It just takes you into a dungeon, so, but you can't beat them by yourself usually. So basically this guy was, like I said, he gives you 2 more quests. And essentially the pirates were using Coeurl kittens to train their wolves to be vicious. Likewise, the little wolf pup had escaped, and so that's kind of what these are, like, all about. So this guy's like, oh, the baby Coeurl's all that remains, that's really a shame. And this dude's like, but I can't really, like, take care of it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this baby. And then it's just, and then the baby's like, oh, but I really like you. And it's just like, yeah, you can have it. And then he gives it to you. Like, you're just supposed to take care of it now. Which is fine, you know, free pet, you know. I ain't gonna turn that down. So, how do I have 3 Phoenix Downs? It used to be you could only carry 1 Phoenix Down. And now I've got 3. I do not understand this logic. I don't like it. It's unnatural. Because I remember having to use one of my Phoenix Downs so that I could accept a quest so that I could get another Phoenix Down. But now we can just have 3 and that's okay, I guess. Okay, none of this gear is for me. Okay, so I am picking up a lot of these extra quests. Don't worry, I'm not actually going to do them because they're really not important. They're just fetch quests. And this is kind of the part of the game where I'm not really sure, like, how much do I show? How much do I not show? How much progress do I make? Normally what I would do is I would run around a zone and then I'd be like, okay, I'm doing all this fetch quest, and while I'm doing this fetch quest, I'm gonna explain stuff to you. But at the same time, part of me's like, oh yeah, I'm already level 21, I'd like to continue with the story, please. So, essentially the story is telling us to go to the Hall of the Novice, and that is this building right here. As you can see, it has the sprout emblem. And like I said, this is the tutorial. So they're like, ah, you must be the adventurer of whom the Yellow Jackets sent word. I hear you're brave. You're here to brave the depths of the Sastasha Sea Grot. The occupants of those caves are rumored to be numerous, as they are bloodthirsty, no matter what the epic tales would have you believe. Strolling into such a den of savagery alone would be the height of foolishness. No, you shall need companions. And you shall need the training we here at the Hall of Novice can provide. I strongly suggest that you study the fundamentals of group combat before continuing your mission. The smith here oversees the training schedules. Speak to him and you can register for exercises tailored to your particular field of expertise. When you have mastered all that our masters have to teach, then it'll be time to head north once more. Report to the Yellow Jacket Scout at the mouth of Sastasha Sea Grot, and he'll furnish you with the details of your duty. Okay, so we now have the Hall of the Novice open. You now have access to the Hall of the Novice. Designed especially for your chosen role, these solo exercises will teach you the ins and outs of party combat. You may access them at any time, either by selecting Hall of the Novice from the duty section of the main menu, or by speaking with any of the smiths found in the Adventurers Guild across Eorzea. Complete these exercises to receive a set of gear that will aid you on your journey. And then you just have to click I'm prepared for Hall of the Novice, and then you can close it. So, what's the visitor's log? Ooh, nice. So, I've never looked at this, but I guess this teaches you typing commands, making use of macros, signs and marks, playing your role. So, like I said, this is the tutorial, okay? This will teach you how to do DPS, healer, or tank, okay? It essentially looks at whatever class you're playing, and it says, okay, you are a tank class, or you are a DPS class, or you are a healer class. And then it gives you a set of mini lessons, which are interactive, and it shows you how to dodge incoming damage, how to basically grab aggro, which is called enmity in Final Fantasy. But for a tank, it teaches you how to grab enmity. It teaches you how to use AoEs. It teaches you how to dodge multiple attacks at once. It essentially teaches you about using items while in combat, like as in taking out I know one of the DPS lessons is you have to take out an enemy and then you have to pull a lever to keep more enemies, like to stop more enemies from coming through. Versus the tank, which is more about like, don't let your comrades take damage. And then of course, as a healer, your whole thing is don't let the tank die. So, while I am skipping the Hall of the Novice, the reason I am skipping it is because I've already done it multiple times, and I've done it for tank multiple times, and the gear that they're going to give me is not going to help me at my current level, so I am not going to do it. However, I'll probably just go back and do it just to do it for the achievement. Otherwise, if you are new to Final Fantasy, please do the Hall of the Novice. Like, it is so important to know how to do dungeons and to do them correctly. Because otherwise, people will get very kind of like upsetty spaghetti if you are basically ignoring all the rules of dungeons. Please tell me you're here on Yellow Jacket duty and not some daft sought out for a stroll. I can't take any more of this blasted waiting. You are? Thank the gods. I assume you already know about the ship scene slipping around the Isles of Umbra. We've been on the lookout for pirate activity ever since the vessel was sighted, thinking a crew of cutthroats might have a den nearby. So when we received word that men of questionable quality had been seen passing in and out of Sestasha here, we weren't entirely surprised. I've yet to see them for myself, but if this lot belongs to those fishback-fancying serpent reavers, well, you can imagine the panic it'll cause. The kidnappings are still fresh in people's minds. Anyways, your task is to poke around in the caves and find out who exactly you're dealing with. While you do that, I'll be keeping watch out here, praying you don't spot any blue-face tattoos. Okay. So, we have now unlocked Sestasha. So we have our first dungeon. We are at a point where we cannot progress the story until we do the dungeon. So it says, duty calls, a dungeon beckons. Enlist the aid of allied players and NPCs alike to slay monsters, solve mysteries, and defeat the mighty boss lurking in the depths. Conquering dungeons is not only a time-honored tradition of adventurers, but it also progresses the main scenario and tests your prowess at a given class or job in a timed environment. Intimidated? Fear not, dear adventurer, for with a little guidance, you too shall be clearing dungeons with confidence in no time. This whole section right here, this didn't exist when I first started playing, but I love that they have added this. It is so, so good. 2 ways to adventure. You may challenge a dungeon via 2 different methods, by calling upon the support of trusty NPCs, or by pooling your talent with other players, be they best friends or first acquaintance. No matter how you form your party, the trials that await you will be comparable in difficulty and experience. No matter how independent and capable you may be, a dungeon is too mighty a challenge to overcome on one's own. By choosing duty support when accessing the entrance of any applicable dungeon, you will summon a balanced team of skilled NPCs to support you on your path to glory. Just don't forget them once you're rich and famous, yes? After choosing to challenge a dungeon with NPCs via duty support, a party that perfectly complements your current class or job will be automatically created for you. All that's left is to select register for duty, and you'll be battling monsters in no time. They say a burden shared is a burden halved, and with a duty finder you can split that burden amongst a team of players who smolder with the same passion for adventure as you do. No need to recruit such teammates yourself. The Duty Finder's matching system will automatically group players according to chosen challenge and other criteria, guaranteeing a balanced and invigorating cooperative experience for all. Once you have been matched with a party, you will be notified by a bracing sound that the time for battle is at hand. Simply select Commence, and you and your comrades will be delivered unto the fray. Remember, the adventurers with whom you are cooperating with are fellow players. Take advantage of the full and varied strength your group possesses by communicating respectfully and often. As your journey progresses, more and more dungeons will become available until you find yourself master of a sea of tribulations overcome. But don't let completion deter you from challenging your favorite duties again. Simply open Duty Support to play through dungeons you've cleared, or use the Duty Finder to do the same with dungeons not yet supported by the NPC party system. No matter your craving, you're guaranteed to find an adventure to satisfy. While this introduction of dungeons has no doubt been immortalized within the hallowed halls of your mind, if you find yourself in need of a refresher, you may access tutorial information again by selecting the question mark icon in the Duty Support or Duty Finder windows. A true adventurer knows the meaning of duty. Secure your legacy by fulfilling yours. And then you must check the box that says, I understand what I must do, then you're allowed to close it. And now we are able to register for Sastasha. So, this might be a longer episode because I do plan on it. So, when you open the Duty Finder, which is this little thing here, and you can find it in the Duty section, you just go to Duty Finder. I guess U is the hotkey for it. What you're going to do is you're going to go to Dungeons, this little cave-looking thing, and then you check the box that says Sastasha, and then you press Join. Whoa. Okay. And because I'm a tank, I tend to queue pretty quick. Tanks and healers will queue faster than DPS. And now we're heading into our first dungeon, which is Sastasha. And any first time you enter a dungeon, you will get a nice little cinematic. Which is nice because it kind of gives you the layout, and Sastasha actually is really, like, pretty. Home with a bunch of veterans. Alright. Hello. Alright, so I'm gonna put on my tank stance, because that is the first thing. I do not have my AoE ability yet. I don't have my shield blob, I just have shield bash. But I am going to keep pulling, for now. So essentially as a tank, that is my job, is I pull enemies. They already have enmity towards me. Now in Sastasha, there is a note up here that we need to read. It's called the Bloody Memo. And it'll have a color on it. And someone is supposed to tell me what color it is. Because we will need that color. And they said red. So, neat. We will need that for a puzzle later on in Sastasha. Now, if you're in here for the first time, you probably don't know about that note unless you're exploring everything. And some people don't explore everything. So that is something to consider. If you're tanking, I guess. If you're tanking, or even if you're DPS, just dare to explore. So, I don't know if my healer's new or not. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially pulling the enemies to me. The reason you do this is because it gets it away from the party, it allows them to attack from behind. It's supposed to help complete dungeons faster. Now, I know for a fact I can skip all these clams. They're not actually aggroed. They just create these, like, little shades. So, it's like, it's not really that big of a deal, but they also do not take long to kill. The big things are these Aurelias here, and the... Okay. And these crabs. So, as you saw, the DPS kind of went and was like, okay, I'm tired of this, I'm gonna go attack this thing because the tank's taking too long. Unfortunately, with veteran players, you might have that. They might see you as being a little bit too timid. There's really nothing that can be done for that. You know, if your DPS is being impatient, they're being impatient. I mean, you're not gonna change it, really. I hate to break it to you. This is how it is. Now there is a section over here that has a treasure, like a treasure, chest. I obviously don't really need to pull it. It's not really necessary. It would probably have some gear in it if you were really that interested. Other than that, it's really not, like, super important. Yeah, we have a Dragoon in the party, so, and a Reaper, so that's 2 veteran players right there. They should be, anyways. So here's the puzzle. This is why we need to know which one it is. Obviously, it's red, so we're gonna press it, and then it creates this switch. Now, if you press the wrong one, you would be punished. Pressing the switch summons your first boss, which is Chopper. And since we are a tank, we are going to grab Chopper, and we are going to point Chopper away from our party members. We can shield bash so that Chopper doesn't have the opportunity to get that attack. We could have. There we go. We could also do a leg sweep. And then once Chopper is dead, then there will be a treasure coffer, and we must press the switch again, which then opens up the door. So that's kind of just how dungeons work. I mean, I don't really know how else to explain it. Like I said, I get the concept of tanking. I know what it entails. But it's more like later content that I worry about. And also there's the confusion of when to use mitigation. Mitigation essentially reduces the damage that I'm taking personally, because I'm not meant to take a lot of, like, I don't do a lot of damage. And I'm meant to take a lot of damage, but... Now here's the boss, Captain Madison. He has 2 henchmen with him. So again, I can go around, turn him away from my compatriots. I can pop my mitigation so that those guys are doing less damage to me, while the DPS goes and takes out his henchmen before attacking him directly. Once he takes a certain amount of damage, he runs away, because he's a scared little boy. We get another treasure chest, and now we are in the main area. Now you do have this little thing on the side, the duty information. It tells you how far in a dungeon you are. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pull all these enemies over here, because there's quite a lot of them, and one of them has the key to the captain's quarters. So I am... Whoa. I need healing is what I need. The healer's about to let me die. I don't have mitt? Okay. Well. So the healer let me die. Now, if you are a healer and you're not comfortable with big pulls, just say you're not comfortable with big pulls. And, you know, obviously, like, your tank can adjust. You know, I'm not gonna force anybody to do big pulls if they're not comfortable with it. But at the same time, like, if you are playing a healer, you should know that, you know, big pulls are a thing. Also, there's a little thing over there in the corner where you can rescue some slaves, and you get a treasure chest from it. A lot of people skip that part because the loot's really not that good, and I get it, but, you know, if you want to be nice and save the poor little ladies that have been kidnapped, they are over in that corner. There's like a few mobs, and then you get a key. So, we killed that guy, we got another key. We're gonna kill these guys so that we can use that key. Alright. We open this door, and then we get to go all the way this way. The first couple of dungeons are pretty straightforward. You don't really have to do much. It's when you get to ones like Hawk Manor, that's when it gets confusing. Like, it'll turn you every way from Sunday. Like, it's just, I don't know, I get lost. Alright, again, we are turning these guys over here. Now, this time it's a little bit different. Not only does Captain Madison have henchmen, but he literally has dogs. So when he's like, let out the scurvy dogs, like, literally there are scurvy dogs. So now it's just him. And then eventually he'll be like, release the dogs. And when he does that, we're gonna go this way, towards the dogs, and we are going to grab them. We're gonna grab Enmity, and we're gonna pull them nice and tight into a circle. Pop mitigation to kind of help with the damage done. Kill all the scurvy dogs. And he's run away again. Also, I got a new skill, which is another mitigation, which is nice. Alright, here is another bunch of mobs that we're gonna grab. I don't want to do too big of a pull because it seems like my healer may not be as comfortable with big pulls. So it's like, I want to do like medium-sized pulls because I shouldn't have died. Like, as someone that has played White Mage, I can tell you for a fact, like, it is possible to keep, you know, your tank healed, even if it's scary, and makes me nervous, but it is possible. I'm gonna go with this guy over here. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if maybe they were just taking a drink of their coffee or what happened, but technically shouldn't have died there, but at the same time I did do a really big pull, so, you know, stuff happens, I guess. Alright, now we can skip this mob over here and we can go straight for the final boss. You sully our spawning ground, Shorewalker. So he is a Serpent Reaver. That is a Sahagin. The boss is a Sahagin. Now normally, your party should wait for you to finish your cutscenes once they're all ready. Then you jump in, and you can provoke the boss. He'll come towards me, and I can move him away for the party. So with this boss fight, there's these unnatural ripples, and when they start bubbling up, your party is supposed to click on them so that they stop rippling, because they will spawn extra enemies. But this guy goes down fast enough. They're using a limit break here. This guy goes down fast enough that essentially you don't have to worry about it. He usually dies pretty quick, so... And then we did it. We killed him. And that is the dungeon done. So this is the first dungeon. The first dungeon finito. And then afterwards, you can, you know, write GG. They all took off. So, and none of them wanted the treasure. So, normally you'd be able to give player commendations, which is like a voting system to tell people they did a great job. They all gave me the commendation, which is really sweet of them, so I appreciate that. Okay, so now that we have done Sestasha, we have to go speak to Baderon at the Drowning Wench. So essentially what we learned in Sestasha is that pirates bad. No, what we learned is that the Serpent Reavers were actually taking up residence in Sestasha, that indeed they are working for the Sahagin, and that they were kidnapping women, but that the Sahagin are not loyal to the Serpent Reavers per se. They will cut them down without remorse. So this is essentially what we were supposed to gather from that whole dungeon experience. So dungeons are important because they do add to the main story. Like, it's not like they're random. You know, they fit in with the tale that you're trying to tell, so... I am gonna do the rest of these little side quests here, and then that'll probably be it. Oh yeah, I've gotta soothe the pup. Ah, I have to click him and then soothe him. Even though I thought I'd clicked on him, I just didn't see the circle. Alright, so now we have the pup. Like I said, first couple of dungeons I'm actually okay with. Like, they're really not that bad. I'm more worried, like, Heaven's Ward era. I think the highest I've ever gotten a gladiator / paladin is like 45. So at least up until level 45, I know that I can handle it. It's kind of just the after that I'm worried about. And like I said, that party is not unusual. Unfortunately, you are going to run into more veteran players than you are new players, which means oftentimes the grounds that you're playing on is a little uneven, because you have a bunch of people that know what they're doing, versus people that, versus newer people that may be experiencing things for the first time. And like I was saying with that DPS, they're not trying to be rude, I don't think. It's just, obviously, if a DPS feels like a tank's being timid, sometimes they will pull enemies to the tank. I've heard of that as a strategy, where the DPS will go and pull enemies to a tank in order to make things easier. I don't like that strategy. I think it actually makes the tank more anxious, because it's kind of taking stuff from the tank as far as like what the tank controls. Plus DPS obviously aren't meant to take that much damage, so you're kind of really risking it whenever you go as a DPS to grab a bunch of mobs. So again, it's not my preferred strategy. I don't like that strategy. I am not a fan. Like, not a fan at all of that strategy. But there are some people that do that. Also, here's the thing. At the end of the day, you are playing a game with real people. And you're gonna run into jerks. Okay? That's just the truth. Alright, I'm not gonna sit there and sugarcoat it and say that, like, this game is perfect, because it's not in any way. It is the best MMO community that I have ever been in, as far as like positivity and helping each other and things like that. But is it like totally perfect? Oh, hell no. I don't really have too many stories of people being like total jerks in dungeons, but I have a few. And those few stick out in my mind rather vividly, because it was so shocking that someone could be so crude and just so horrible to other people. You do have people that want to get through dungeons as quickly as possible, and they treat every, like, little thing as a major inconvenience. I remember there was one time where the tank's like, I'm not comfortable with big pulls, and the other DPS, because you'll usually, like, in bigger dungeons, you'll have, like, 2 DPS, whatever. And just in general, you have 2 DPS. It's 2 DPS, 1 tank, 1 healer. One of the DPS, they just went ham. They were like, big pulls or nothing, and they just started grabbing, and we died so many times because the DPS just wouldn't stop. They're like, big pulls or nothing, and the tank's like, I'm not comfortable with big pulls. And sure enough, the healer wasn't either, but the healer just wasn't really saying too much. And, it took us forever to clear the dungeon, whereas had they just done the little pulls, yes, the dungeon might take a little bit longer, but ultimately we wouldn't be sitting there dying every 5 minutes. So it's like things like that you will run into occasionally. Like I said, people want to get stuff done as fast as possible, and sometimes their impatience makes them make very stupid decisions, and ultimately those are the people that you probably want to, like, blacklist in the future. Listen, it's better not to feed flames, especially in MMOs. Just report them if you have to, but otherwise just block them. Block them, blacklist them, mute them, but don't engage with them, okay? For a raging fire, you must, choke out its oxygen source, its food source. Literally arguing sometimes is all these people want to do. It's their bread and butter. So I choose not to fight. I'll sit there and explain a mechanic in case someone's not getting it, but the minute they start giving me attitude saying that they know what they're doing and they don't need my help, I just leave it alone, and then I just make sure I blacklist that person so that hopefully I never bump into them again. And I think that's the best way to probably handle these sorts of things in Final Fantasy XIV. The less strife that you can, the less strife you get into, the better. Not to say I have a huge blacklist, because I really don't. I only have maybe 2 people blacklisted, I think. But, I see people engaging in arguments all the time, and I'm like, dude, don't even bother. Just blacklist and move on, And to me, I think that's, like, the most sound strategy. So, look at all this gear. So we are now in level 15 quests, which is nice. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here, but I will probably do the rest of these like little side fetch quests on my own, and then when next we meet, I will be back in Limsa Lominsa at the Drowning Wench, and we will be continuing with the story. I was seeing if Marissa was on. I don't know why. I know she's in bed. I'm like, maybe my friend's on. But anyways, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you guys so much. Leave a like if you like the series and if you want to see more. I am having a lot of fun playing this. I am excited that I got to do my first dungeon with you guys, and that you were there to experience that. I know that the way I explain things is more educational and less entertaining, but trust me, we are going to get into new grounds eventually when I have no clue what I'm doing, and then I'm going to scream a lot. So, if you want to talk about tanking or your dungeon experiences in the comment section down below, go ahead and leave those down there. Just remember, if you are giving out any spoilers, please use the appropriate spoiler tags, just in case nobody's, there are people that haven't played those sections. Mostly for the newer content, though. But thank you guys so much for your continued support of my videos, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Alright, ciao you guys!